Second writer here is a friend of mine that I've known probably since she interviewed and moved to Lincoln, and that's been around 20 years ago. She took the job of a friend of ours, Marcia Southwick. And I don't know how many people applied for that job. I would say it was over 200 from when I heard from several of the people that were having to read all those applications. And in those days, they might get a VHS tape. It's nothing like the internet now, 20 years ago. But Grace Bauer has been in Lincoln that long, working the creative writing program. She, to me, is what I call the dynamo spark plug of the English department. She always has a ton of energy. She said she was depleted a little bit when she got here tonight, a little frazzled, but you know, sit down a while, listen to some other people read, and hang out, and your battery recharges. So you can read the particulars about Grace. She's published a number of books. Special this year is the 20th anniversary printing of her book, Woman at the Well. That's a great piece of work. I have one of the original copies, and there are the 20th anniversary issues that are coming out this year, and that's a great thing. So beyond that, all you need to do is sit back and wait for Grace to give us a run. Grace Bauer.
Can people hear me? I'm usually pretty loud. Barely? Okay. I'll scream. I'll just start. I'll spare you the details, but I had like a really sucky day. Like the level of suckdom was like up here. So it's great to be here listening to music and poetry. It's been a weird end of semester month, things falling apart all over the place. When I talked to Rex about reading here tonight, I thought I would have copies of the 20th anniversary reissue of The Women at the Well, but I do not, because it's been that kind of month. But I brought a picture of the cover, which has a Picasso on it, so that you would all be tempted. It's like a fabulous cover. So that when it comes out, you will just, have to run to your nearest bookstore and get one. And what The Women at the Well is, as the title might suggest, it's an entire book of poems written in the voices of women from the Bible. So I basically rewrite the Bible because somebody needed to do it. So I thought I would just read one of those. It's the opening poem in the book, and maybe I'll come back sometime when it's out and read again. But this is a poem in multiple voices, and it's called Speaking in Tongues and Incantation. In the beginning was water, and the Word rose out of the face of the deep, and world was the word we created to name ourselves out of the darkness. And above us we saw an expanse of sky, a firmament blue as ocean, holding a circle of fire, a crescent of ice, and they mirrored their light in the water. And in time, dry land appeared, so we roamed, and we discovered thirst and distance, and names for everything that filled the void we knew as hunger. And we wandered the distance from river to stream, always leaving and returning to water. And the land greened fertile with grasses and trees, and we learned to plant seeds and pick blossoms. And the land contained rock and stones we broke open to learn what they held at their centers. Searching for roots, we made a circle of stones and dug into the earth to find water. And in the earth we dug, we discovered clay, and we learned to form clay into vessels. And the vessels we knew, like the stones, like ourselves, held emptiness deep in their centers. And we filled all the vessels with water and oils we made from seeds and blossoms. And we anointed our flesh with the fragrance of herbs and glazed our skin smooth as fine vessels. But we felt what we wore was more than mere flesh. Something in us ran deeper than water. So So we searched for a word to name this thing that we felt, like an unbroken stone at our centers. And we saw with our eyes and reached with our hands toward each other to fill up the darkness. And we knew ourselves fertile as the green of the earth, tangled roots, tangled vines, seeds and blossoms. And we gazed at tall trees and imagined a tower we might raise with our hands toward the heavens. And we built it with stone because we thought it would last and could stand up to time and to water. And each stone held a word, and each word held a story, and each story a secret, a center. But our tower collapsed, and our children were scattered, bearing stories like stones in their pockets. And now sometimes they pause by the side of a stream to skip stones across the mirror of water, and they watch as the ripples they make form a circle that captures the light at its center. Look into that center, the darkness, the light, the face you see in the mirror. Come close. You may well see us lurking, familiar, like dreams you still see upon waking. We are the women who wait by the wells with clay pitchers posed on our shoulders. We are here to draw water. We are here to throw stones. We are here to break silence with story. Thank you. So that whole book is a series of poems, and I had a cheat sheet, but I don't know. Oh, there it is. I tend to write series a lot, so I have 4 books at this point. 2 of them are series books, and 2 of them are more eclectic books. This is another sort of series book, and it's called Beholding Eye. And all of the poems in this book are based on paintings or photographs, or what we call ekphrastic poems, if you know that big fancy word, which just basically means poems about visual art. So I thought I would read one that I don't have to explain, at least to people in Lincoln, because we are lucky enough to have this painting right here at the Shelton Art Museum. If you know that Edward Hopper painting called Room in New York, which is just, I think it's one of the stellar things in the Sheldon's collection. And so this is just a poem, if you can visualize that painting. It's just called Room in New York after Edward Hopper. Note how many rectangles and squares. The window we review the couple through. The 3 black lines we read as shutters. 3 indistinct pictures that hang on the flamboyant green walls. The old black upright pings with, 3 indistinct pictures that hang on the flamboyant green walls. And the old black upright she pings upon with a single index finger. Note how the red of her dress repeats the lamp and chair, how the stark white of his shirt echoes the sheet of what is meant to represent music, although it is most curiously blank. It is only the figures themselves who appear to have nothing in common. Not just that he is absorbed in his paper, because who among us has not been so eager to learn the news of the world that we've allowed ourselves to get lost in print. But look how she sits at that piano, not facing it as someone intent on playing would. No, she sits as if she means to face him, but has turned to the keys as an afterthought, a way to entertain herself while she waits to catch his eye as she has ours. Her pale skin is almost ghostly, the bow on her shoulder an odd attempt at adornment, like the dead-centered doily that protects why, oh why, we might ask, like Miss Bishop, the small brown table he's leaning towards from nothing. I imagine her sounding out middle C, perhaps hitting a sharp for emphasis. I imagine the piano itself is hopelessly out of tune, and that both of them have been waiting their whole lives for attention, each other's or anyone's, or a song to take them somewhere beyond the confines of the space they are in. But his stocks have gone down, or his team may be up for the pennant, and she has her club or some project tight for the boss. The city outside is all menace and promise, all streetlight and exhaust. We ourselves could, at any moment, climb a fire escape, pick a lock, break down the brown of that door, and be inside there with them, like them, beside ourselves, bored to distraction, without a word to say. I could have explained that the why, oh, why, Miss Bishop line, for some of you might have recognized, there's a wonderful Elizabeth Bishop poem called The Filling Station, and she describes this filling station and the fact that there's a little table inside the filling station with a doily on it. And she says, and the doily, why, oh, why a doily? And I always just thought that was such a great line in the poem, so I had to slip it in there. So this is from another book, and it's called Retreats and Recognitions. I guess I'll start with another one that Lincolnites can relate to. They'll understand the topography. Although there is a typo in the book, this is autocorrect, that they changed Star Tran to Star Train, okay? But we all know it's Star Tran. Okay, so. Normal by mistake. I meant to hop on the College View, which drops me off close to my neighborhood, but cold and tired and distracted by two punk lovers vigorously necking at the stop, I boarded the first Star Tran that happened by, dropped in my change, and took an empty seat behind the punks. Across the aisle, a man clutched a Lion King lunchbox against his big red parka, argued fiercely with someone the rest of us could not see. Missing children smiled from dusty posters next to ads for Blue Cross and the La Leche League. People dozed or discussed the weather. They boarded and disembarked. Immersed in observation and eavesdrop, I succumbed to a passenger's languor and rode for blocks before it dawned on me that I'd taken the normal by mistake. I stared out at sloshed city streets that looked only vaguely familiar, unsure of my options for transfer and feeling a bit of a fool. The driver, adept at the wheel, plowed on through traffic, steering his vehicle on its appointed rounds. The punks, headed no doubt in the right direction, continued to grope and click their piercings against each other's tongues. Mr. Lion King appeared to reach some resolution. He quieted down to a hum, a rhythmic rocking. And I, having little choice, sat back and pondered the road I had taken or been taken by. It took me eventually back to the stop where I'd started, where I got off, then got on another bus that looked pretty much the same. This time I checked to be sure it would take me where I thought I had been going. Home, just 1 block north of South, a destination that makes as much or little sense as any once you realize that you are always arriving, though also along for the ride. So the retreats of the title. This is a book that sort of has 2 title poems. I was struggling for a title. This book had like a zillion incarnations before it finally got published, and like a zillion titles. So we finally decided on. I was going back and forth between retreats and recognitions, and Hilda Raz, who was still here then, said, "Why not retreats and recognitions?" She was helped me with that. So it was, and so this is the confessions of a recovering Catholic girl, sort of. So retreat, and you know, I don't know if people know, when you go on like a religious retreat, and it's supposed to help you sort of contemplate your soul, for a bunch of like 8th graders, maybe not so much. Retreat. The novices led us in prayer and solemn novenas. Their silence and black habits trailed the cloister's corridors. But we were tired of the protection of Our Lady of Hungary and took off with the St. Joe's crowd, who taught us how to inhale Lucky Strikes, shake aspirins into Cokes for a buzz. A senior from Perpetual Help explained to us what fuck meant, diagramming the details on the back of her missal during a morning high mass. I daydreamed through the offertory and the consecration, wanting to witness the miracle of a boy's body doing what I now knew men did. When the bells chimed, I lined up for communion with the other girls, though the sin I had in mind was surely mortal. I crossed myself as the priest whispered, "Body of Christ." In my unholy heart, I knew there was no turning back. Is it good to end a poem on a pun? But it just seemed right. Well, speaking of bad girls, I guess I'll stick with bad girls for another poem. And this kind of goes to the man thing. I actually, maybe about a week, 10 days ago, I was somewhere, and worse than man is young lady. So I was in the store and said, "There you go, young lady." And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "I am neither young nor a lady." And he was like, "Okay, what do I do with that?"
Good for you.
He was like, maybe he won't do that again. But so this is a not so young lady. And it's called Midlife Heavy Metal. I know I'm not the only woman in the world who spent her adolescence lusting to a backbeat, and still, in some part of herself she has grown to deny, can't resist a big-mouthed bad boy, surly siren in tight pants, who swaggers and snarls and screams his heart out in the name of rock and roll. There he is on my TV screen, older than I am and showing his age, but still strutting what stuff he's got. He's Heathcliff with a microphone, a long, tall glass of water spiked with acid and desire, his hair a black mass of styling gel and tease, mouth a severe weather warning, eyes an invitation to a party we'll regret if we go to or not. Oh, we know better. Or at least we know we should. But somewhere deep inside, we still long for all the trouble he could stir up. We want to hear every lie we know by now his kind tells. We want to lie back, strut our own stuff, and be just a little bit like him. The bad boy every good girl is inside. Ma'am, you. So I'll read a few more. This is my next book, and it's called Nowhere All at Once. That is also sort of playing around with words because, nowhere can be now, here. And there are a couple of little mini-series kind of poems that are sort of threaded throughout the book. There's a series of prayer poems, and this is also kind of a local poem in a way. It's called Great Plains Prayer. Bless us, O Lord, and this our jello, our corn, our steak and kolaches, our heat indexes, our wind chills, our sunsets and horizons, our endless waves of grain and grass, our ancestors who started out for the coast but stopped halfway. Our nostalgia for their calico, their sod, their old homesteads, our denial of the meth labs that have taken their place. Bless our perseverance, our unerring politeness, our red state politics, and our white bread. Bless our dubious status as Tornado Alley or flyover zone, and bless all those who fly over, as well as those of us who, out of choice or necessity or inertia, forgive us, we know not why or what we've done, but by God stayed. let's see, maybe I'll read just one or two more. How's that? Where am I looking for? And I do have copies of books for sale if anyone is just dying to have one. They make good, what, end of semester presents. Memorial Day, Mother's Day presents.
There you go.
Depending on who your mother is. Oh, okay, depending on who your mother is. Okay. Okay. This is called Change of Life. I am swabbing my own blood up off the white tiled floor. I write that, and for a moment, you might think tragedy or maybe melodrama, depending on whether or not your own past has detoured through the plot of someone demanding supreme attention. A cry for help, they always say, though any crisis counselor can tell you such cries end in silence often enough. But we're not going there. Not this time. No, the blood in this scene says life goes on, which means, of course, that death approaches. All change of life is unpredictable, and so I stand and leak a crimson torrent onto the white tiled floor we started with. I run through my litany of fucks, goddams, as I do what I have to do to staunch the flow, then fall on my knees to clean up the mess I've made of things. Don't trust anyone who bleeds 6 days a month and doesn't die. A friend once told me he read on a men's room wall. A rest stop in the middle of nowhere. And in red magic marker, no less. He wondered if the guy carried it around just to spread this message. Though he was amused to find beneath it, "Ah, your mama," scrawled in plain black pen. In any case, thanks to Bounty, a little fantastic, the tiles are gleaming white again. No trace of my body's embarrassing betrayals. So come on in to piss or powder your nose, whatever nature or culture compels you to do. There's no use crying over spilled blood, at least not this kind. I've got more paper towels, some herbal hormones. I'm ready, at least for today, for whatever change comes my way. And I think I'll end with this one. It's called Small Elegy for It All. Dearly beloved, what did we know about just how dear it all was or would too soon become? Just how much we'd miss the done and gone, the lost and never coming back of everyone and everything that was and is no more, except in the still present of memory, which is not quite, but yet a reminder of absence, of what is no longer here, but always there. Thanks.
Another hand for Grace Bauer. Thank you, Grace. Thank you. And Sarah McKinstry Brown.